Have you ever considered the effect of a disability on a child in a social setting? That is what I'm going to be talking about, as well as adding different variables to attempt to increase social interactions between children. Past research began with non-disabled children. Those children were at risk or disadvantaged, and their research was looking into how to increase levels of social interaction between them. Following the idea of increasing levels of social interaction, the integration of disabled and non-disabled children was tested to see if there would be a positive outcome. Finally, different types of toys were added to assess if that could further increase social interactions among different types of children. This study was aiming to combine many of the past concepts to investigate social toys versus isolate toys on the social interactions of children with or without disabilities. There were 3 research questions proposed. First, does the type of toy affect the amount of social interactions between children? Second, does the type of toy and age affect the amount of social interactions between children? And finally, does the type of toy and ability, being disabled or non-disabled, affect the amount of social interactions between children? For this study, there were 2 different sites with children chosen based on consent or random selection. 24 children, ages 3 to 5, were studied in 2 different sites in 2 similar special education programs. In Site 1, there were 4 groups of 4 children, and in Site 2, there were 2 groups of 4 children. The conditions were held in separate play areas from the classroom. Each area either had only social toys, which are toys that encourage play with others, like dolls, blocks, and trucks, or only isolate toys, which encourage solo play, like Play-Doh, puzzles, books, and crayons and paper. The area with each type of toy was rotated every day. The children were told to go play for 30-minute blocks of free play, and the observer stood right outside the room while watching the children to avoid distraction. The children were observed for every day for 7 weeks and coded by 2 observers to ensure inter-rater reliability. The researcher was looking for frequency of social interactions as well as type of interaction, being positive or negative. Each child was observed individually for 5 minutes in a random order. Social interactions were marked with a plus sign in a 10-second interval, while no social interaction marked with a minus sign. They were also noted as positive or negative interactions. This interval was in place to minimize multiple interactions occurring in one time frame. As you can see on this graph, overall, there was a greater social interaction in the condition with social toys across all the variables, with all the blue bars being higher than the red. Site 2 had a significant amount more of social interactions in the social toy condition. As to the interaction with age and toys, 5-year-olds had significantly more social interactions than any of the ages. There was no significant difference between frequency of social interactions of 3 and 4-year-olds, but in both conditions, they were more socially interactive in the social toy condition. There were also mostly positive interactions. The majority of the negative interactions consisted of children determining the ownership of a certain toy, even though there were the same amount of toys per children in each room. These interactions were not shown in the graph, but they were noted in the findings. In this second graph, you can see disabled children showed significantly more social interactions in the social toy condition, as shown by the first blue bar, compared to the red bar. Non-disabled children did not show a significant difference in either toy condition, but did show a significant difference overall of higher social interaction than disabled children, as you can especially see by the second red bar being almost double the first one. There was no specific stated hypothesis. However, the results were not surprising, and they were consistent with past findings. 5-year-olds are expected to show higher rates of social interactions in general compared to 3 and 4-year-olds, so their overall higher scores were not shocking. One result of note was that disabled children were more influenced by the type of toy than non-disabled children. Site 2 had a large significant finding of more interaction in the social toy condition, which may be a result of this site only consisting of disabled participants. A limitation of this study is that it was carried out in a small town in Kansas, so the results may not be very generalizable. Another limitation was that Site 2 only had disabled children, which limited the amount of interactions they could see between the disabled and non-disabled children, and also may have skewed the results of the comparisons between sites. There are many ways to carry out and expand on this research. For a follow-up study, I would want to incorporate specific toys with gender to determine if the types of toys elicit different emotions based on gender stereotyping and how that differs between disabled and non-disabled children. Also, adding videotaping to be able to look back and code for the quality of the interactions would increase the depth of this study. Finally, expanding on the locations of the study to also increase generalizability. Thank you.